to get started, to tell you all a little bit about myself. My name is Seretha. I'm the founder and the owner of SJW Logistics. We are a full service 3PL where we have warehousing, freight services, and order fulfillment. And we have recently started our brokerage services where we do freight brokering now. Today, we're going to do the Let's Talk Trucking. And my goal today is to tell you all the multiple ways to enter the trucking industry. A lot of people know the old traditional way, which is the way I got into the trucking industry. And that was buy a truck and put a driver in it. How many of y'all put some hands up or likes or hearts or something in the chat that say that's the way y'all heard how to get into the trucking industry? Buy a truck, put a driver in it, you make a lot of money. I know that's the most common way. That's how I got started. I bought a truck and I started dispatching for it. And then I saw, wait, I could have started this thing differently. There's so many, probably every day, I think of ways I could have started differently out, but I'm here now, right? So I can share the different ways that you can start where, hey, it may not be as costly as it was for me. You may not make as many mistakes as I made because I did a lot of trial and error. And getting into the trucking industry. So we're going to go ahead on and get started with the presentation here. In this one here, like I said, we're going to start out. I have an agenda for you all. So we're going to talk about brokers versus dispatch, owner operators versus carriers, carrier compliance, lease equipment, and maintenance. So we're going to talk about every one of those subjects because a lot of people don't know or don't think that they can get into the trucking industry through those different methods. But you can get in there. You can make really good money. Like I said, I learned after the fact, after a whole semi truck later and it burning down, that I could have just started this whole thing differently and cheaper. We'll start out by talking about dispatchers. Dispatchers is one of the easiest and most profitable professions in the transportation industry. Dispatchers are very so much needed because there are a lot of one-man shows, as I call them. They're your owner operators and small carrier companies, people that have invested in trucks, whether it's a box truck or a semi truck or dually truck, that they go buy the trucks, they get people to drive them, but then they don't know how to find loads. I see it all day long on Facebook and Instagram on people looking for someone to dispatch their truck, find loads for them, because they don't know where to find the loads. Again, they just heard through word of mouth. If you get a truck and you get it there, you can go make a lot of money. So dispatchers are those people that connect those people who are looking for loads there. So the tasks that dispatchers solve are loading the truck, making a route, unloading the truck. Sometimes they help the drivers find repairmen when the truck break down. They complete billing and factoring. Dispatcher can make good money and do a lot for a company, or owner operator. Like I said, a one-man show, you can really help them out a lot. And then what you're gonna learn the difference between a broker shortly, but you always get a stable percentage from the gross without leaving your home or office. So you don't have to go get an office to be a dispatcher. You can do it at home and you get your money from the gross of the truck, the load, not from the net, which you'll learn about the net a little bit later. So that's one way, and it's the easiest, low cost of entry to be a dispatcher. The biggest thing is marketing. And with social media now, marketing is so much easier because you can just tell word of mouth. Everybody probably knows somebody that drives trucks, I'm sure, or do something in the logistics industry. And then we have up here the dispatcher salary. You know, those dispatchers is making over $100,000 a year. It's very real. It's very, during this time, truck, as you all can see, one thing that has remained stable throughout the pandemic is the transportation industry. We need trucks, we need deliveries, we need pickups. People are still manufacturing stuff. So your dispatchers are gonna be needed. They're very consistent there. So those that are making in that 200 and something K, those dispatchers are very aggressive. They're doing very well. But it's something you can do as passive income because again, you can book loads 24/7. You don't always have to wait from 9 to 5 to book loads. So people do it part-time as well. So that's one way you can enter the trucking industry, is through dispatching. The other way is brokering, freight broker. A lot of you've heard freight brokers there. So put me some likes in there if you've heard of freight brokers. A lot of people now, what's the difference between a freight broker and a dispatcher? I get that question all the time. What is the difference? Well, freight brokers, they are third-party individuals who connect the shippers and the carriers, and they oversee the freight transportation. So they're known as freight transportation managers. They are not asset based. They do not own trucks either, just like dispatchers. They don't own anything. The only thing different from a dispatcher to a broker is legally required to obtain a brokerage authority with the Department of Transportation's FMCSA. But however, like I say, the dispatchers, they're not required to get a brokerage authority. Now, getting a brokerage authority does require a little bit more than dispatcher. It's a cost a little bit more, and it's based on credit. So I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but it is a little bit more to become a broker. However, logistics brokers, they don't take physical possession of the freight as they're non-asset based, and freight brokers profit from the net of they profit from the net from the carrier and the customer. So let me give y'all the difference there. If you are a dispatcher and you book a load for $1,000 and you have it set up that you're going to that carrier or owner operator is going to pay you 10%, he owes you 10% of that $1,000. With the broker, if you have a load from a customer paying $1,000, you only profit the difference in what you booked the load for. So if you book that load with the carrier and you book that load with the carrier for $800, then the broker takes home $200. They take home the net of the load, not the gross. So that's the difference. And sometimes brokers have to negotiate to give more. If that driver don't want to take it for $800, they want $900, then that broker may only take home $100. If that driver want $950 and that broker want to move that load, that broker may only take home $50. So that's the difference. Whereas with dispatcher, their percentage gonna remain stable regardless of what the driver or the broker takes home. But again, that's another way to enter the trucking industry and make money. With brokers, you do put in a little more work because you have to find shippers. You have to get them to give you a chance. So it's a little bit more work, but everything, what he said, if it's worth having, it's worth working for. You can make good money, and brokers can actually even get contracts. So with brokers, there are different levels to it. You could be a freight broker and agent, where you can go work for a company, or you could be an independent freight brokerage, just like a dispatcher. You can be independent and start your own dispatching business. You can start your own brokerage business, but brokers can get contracts. I have seen brokers get contracts from shippers and manufacturers in the millions, where they allow so many loads to them to move for them. So, and I found this on Freight Waves about how much brokers make. This here is more so a broker's salary when they go work for companies, because they work off commission there. But again, if you start your own brokerage, it can look very different because you can get contracts, you can get dedicated freight. And like I said, I know this one guy now that's in Tennessee, and he moves loads, and his contract is $2 million a year. Now, what he nets and profits after that just depends on how much he moved the loads for. So again, two different ways you can enter the freight, the trucking business. So I definitely think freight brokers are needed, just like dispatchers are needed as well, because freight brokers are the ones that have time to contact those shippers and manufacturers and make those calls and make the connections to put those loads out there on load boards for dispatchers to find. So did you all catch how all that ties together? Freight brokers and dispatchers need each other. So if you decide to enter the industry as a dispatcher, you want to connect with a freight broker.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yes, this is Sharon. I've been freight broker and freight agent. Are the words interchangeable, or they the same? I'm kind of confused.
So a freight broker is the person that's licensed to obtain the freight from a shipper and broker it out. A freight agent works up under a freight broker. So a freight agent is like a freight broker's assistant, but a freight agent can't act as a freight broker under a freight broker's license.
Okay.
So an agent can come with their own book of business and say, hey, I don't have my freight broker license, but I have customers. Can I work up under your freight brokerage and book out these loads? Because they've already built that relationship with some customers.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? So another most common way to enter the trucking industry is as an owner, operator, or carrier. I entered the trucking industry as a carrier, meaning that I do not have my CDLs. I purchased a truck. I obtained my motor carrier authority, what is my MC number. As most people say, you got an MC and DOT number. That's the way they say it in the logistics streets there. So you get an MC DOT number, you become an owner, operator, carrier, but that just means you're licensed to operate a commercial vehicle across, state lines, within state lines there. So I became a carrier and I bought a truck, I hired a driver, and I got my own MC and DOT number. An owner operator is a person that either leases or owns a truck. So that means that they have their own CDLs and they drive the truck themselves. They can either lease onto a company or they can get their own MC and DOT number as a motor carrier. The ways to enter the industry there as an owner, operator, or carrier, I can tell you, just say for instance, if you have money to invest in purchasing a truck, there you can buy a truck, you can lease it on to a company. You don't have to get your DOT and MC number. I tell people all the time, sometimes it's cheaper to lease on to a company and let them carry the expenses first until you learn the ropes and learn everything. Use that company as your mentor. You may not take home as much money as you would like to take home up front, but at least you will be learning to expand and grow. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to just get into the industry just to have one truck or two trucks or three trucks. You want to expand and grow because it's $800 billion. There's enough money out there to go far. And then one thing I just thought about, as an owner operator versus a carrier, for those that want to be investors and you just want to make money off the trucking industry, there are people out there looking for trucks to rent. So Ryder has a truck rental program. If you want to buy trucks and rent them to Ryder, and Ryder rent your truck out, people are making anywhere from $500 to over $1,000 a week just renting their trucks out for people to drive, because trucks break down all the time. So I know firsthand that they break down all the time. So just keep that in mind. There are all kinds of ways to enter the trucking industry without actually having to be hands-on. Now, if you want to be hands-on, there's nothing wrong with that. I started out hands-on, but just learn the difference between an owner, operator, a carrier, and what an investor is. So that way you'll know what you're getting into. Learn how rates are supposed to be paid and everything. So that way you'll be able to make sure your money is correct when you are getting paid and make a profit off your truck.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure, Cassandra.
If a trucker, like a driver, is with a company and he's getting his truck through the company, like a lease, to own type of program. We've been talking, because I told you I was kind of like talking to a few truckers and everything just to see what their positions are. And I guess the main thing is right now he has to find out if like he could actually take on loads or just branch off eventually to just still have that program with the actual company. I would think they would probably just want him to be with that company, you know what I'm saying, to actually get the truck through them, so to still be driving for them. Have you ever seen it where they branch off and still can do a lease own with another company just to have their owner operator?
That's a great question. I will tell you all with leases, before I answer Cassandra's question, with leases, I'm just gonna be straight up with you all. Those companies pay a lot of money for those trucks. And when they lease it out, they're doing a contract on top of a contract that they already have to pay for that truck. So they're not going to be willing to let you branch off if you're doing a lease purchase, because they're still responsible for those payments every month. So one way to control and know what the driver is doing is required throughout the lease of the truck, the lease purchase of the truck, that the driver stays on with that company. And then the other thing to learn is it a lease where they will own it at the end of the payments that they've agreed to, or is it a lease where they will have a balloon payment at the end of those payments? Because a lot of companies will do a 3-year lease for so much money a month, but then when that lease is up, they're gonna say, well, you can purchase it for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 at the end of the lease to own it. And then that person, if they purchase that truck, whether they go through financing or they pay cash for it, then they can branch off from that company, or they could choose to stay with that company. And then one thing Cassandra is asking about, which some of you may not know about, is what they call forced dispatch. Some companies, when you lease a truck onto them, or you lease a truck from them, I'm sorry, they may have forced dispatch, meaning they're going to book your loads, they're going to tell you your rates, and you're not going to be able to see the rate cons or know if that's accurate or not, if they're taking money out the top or anything to that. So a lot of drivers don't know, but when getting into those lease purchase deals, if you want to book your own loads, that's one question to ask is, do I have to have forced dispatch, or can I book my own loads? Because some companies do allow lease purchase drivers to act as independent owner operators and book their own loads. My company, when we have drivers leased on, if they have their own truck or we do lease purchase, we don't have forced dispatch. We let them book their own loads, and they get to see their rate cons as well. A lot of people don't think of this but I have one way that you can enter the trucking industry is through starting a carrier compliance company. A lot of people are getting started in the industry. They bought a truck, they don't have CDLs, they don't know DOT and FMCSA rules, they don't know the difference between e-logs and paper logs, they don't know annual inspection, pre-trips, post-trips. And one thing people are not known to do is educate themselves. They don't read, they don't want to watch videos, they don't want to sit in classes. So if you want to create a carrier compliance company and learn everything about compliance, what is box trucks compliance, what is dually compliance, don't limit it to semi-trucks. Who requires e-logs, who requires paper logs, how often you should have your annual inspection, how often you should keep paperwork after you deliver. If you learn that and start a company where you're able to market that you can get a trucking company started. Listen, people, I paid $750 to get my company set up and started and pay a compliance person. That was a one-time fee to do that when I started my company. So it is very much so a need out there to enter the trucking industry and say, hey, I can do compliance. I can help you get your company set up. I can explain the difference in interstate versus intrastate. I can also show you how to, set your business name up, your EIN, what's required. That alone is a very profitable business. You wouldn't be surprised at how many people are getting fined by FMCSA with their companies when they go through their entry level audit, or how many people are getting warnings or put on probation because they don't know. They don't know some people don't know you have to have a drug test before you put the driver in the truck there. So just being able to set up a compliance company and market that business and help people and consult them, with you can have a la carte of consulting, or you can have a whole package like I paid for. And with that package, I remember paying $750. I had already did my Secretary of State. I had already did my EIN, and I had already did some of my filings, and they still charged me $750. And the next thing we have here where it says you buy equipment and lease it out. So I touched on this a little bit earlier. People think that, you know, just buying a semi truck and like I said, leasing it on to a rider or something like that. But right now I had trailers sitting, dry van trailers. So I leased out my dry van trailers to drivers who get started in the trucking industry. They buy a truck and they have to do power only because they can't afford to get a trailer, or no one will lease them a trailer. I had that same issue when I got started. Someone started out leasing me a trailer because I bought a truck and didn't have a trailer there. So now I have equipment, I lease it out. So that's one way you can make money. People that there's so many drivers out there. I get calls all the time of people asking, do we have trailers for lease? Do we have equipment we can rent out there? So if you have funding that you can invest in purchasing equipment and leasing it out to startup companies, you can help those startup companies go a long way. If someone wouldn't help me by doing that, I probably wouldn't be here today. So just think of different ways when you see equipment sitting and you go, I've seen people go to junkyards and look, they take a mechanic to see how bad some things are and see what it will cost to fix it up. And people might not compare it to this, but I compare it to people that in real estate, when they go looking at those distressed homes and they take their construction guy with them to see how much it'll cost for them to fix it up before they make an offer. You can do the same thing. There's all kind of equipment and stuff at junkyards there that just need a little minor work to it. You might come buy it and resell it, start that business. So again, all kind of ways to enter the trucking industry. You don't have to just buy a truck just to get into the trucking industry there. Any questions about that before we move on, or any other questions so far? Am I giving y'all some good ideas to get into the trucking industry? Give me some feedback.
Yes, ma'am. You're doing a great job. I'm learning so much. I only knew about dispatch and brokering. That was it prior to the call.
Good deal. That's what I want to do. I want to get your heads thinking, because again, it's money out there. You don't have to just buy a truck to get in there. You don't have to become a dispatcher. You don't have to become a broker. I started out with the most popular stuff you all were familiar with, but as you all see, when we get more into it, you're learning like, oh, it's different ways. A lot of people don't think of compliance and consulting, but a lot of businesses, I get a list every week. A lot of businesses are going out of business because they missed this one minor thing, or they don't know they're supposed to do this. They don't know there's a driver drug and alcohol consortium. You know, it's so much that is needed to operate in the industry there. So moving along, great feedback, guys. So one thing that I had explored myself that a lot of people don't think about is starting a maintenance company. If you know a handy person, a mechanic, or you're a mechanic or a handy person yourself, you start a roadside service. And you don't have to start a roadside service with the most expensive thing that they have, trying to get all the equipment and computer. Start small and build your way up. The most common roadside service that people do are tires. And guess what? You'll be surprised. I think we probably go through at least 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tire changes a week. We have over 12 semi trucks rolling. So we try as much as we can to do preventative maintenance, but we're only as good as what the driver tell us. So roadside service is making a killing on tires. I know for a $200 tire, we paid $773 for a roll call. Do y'all hear that profit in there? $200 tire, $773 roll call. Okay. Regens. I'm not gonna go too much into it, but that does require a computer system to do that. But that's a real common thing, being called against the road to get regens, airlines, lights. I just put all the minor stuff up there that people need. Oil, they need coolant. You'll be surprised at how often drivers run out of fuel because they're trying to save money, especially the owner operators. I had a driver run out of fuel in one of our trucks, and to get fuel, he was 5 miles from the fuel station to bring the fuel, prime the truck, and get him to the fuel station. That was I think around an $893 roll call for about 10 gallons of fuel. So again, very, very, very profitable business to have a roadside service. And a lot of drivers look for DOT inspections there, because they're out on the road, the inspections expired because they're not doing their pre and post trips like they're supposed to, and they need an inspection before they get caught there. So roadside, you don't have to start big. If you could just take lights out there, like I said, but oil, coolant, and fuel, those are popular. Tires are popular. No, Cassandra, there are not any specific license and certifications you need. You do need to follow the laws on what it required to have a maintenance company and the insurance required, you know, because that is a risky job, being side the road and doing maintenance side the road. But Stacy said, what is a roadside inspection? That is when DOT pulls that truck over and they look at the truck to see if they meet DOT standards, what drivers are supposed to look at doing pre and post trips. And if they do not, they can either give them a ticket. It can get as bad as shutting them down and get some out of services. So we've had experience with that as well. Miss Karen knows about that. So those are just things that that you could do to get into the industry. You can have a roadside company. And let me tell you guys, you all don't have to be hands-on, okay? Like I said, I didn't get CDLs to start my trucking company. If you have money to invest in buying a mechanic truck, and you have a guy you can hire to be your roadside mechanic, do your research, educate yourself, put your rules in place, put your pay in place, hire someone to do it. You don't have to do everything. Have maintenance shops. If you have a building, you want to start your maintenance shop. You don't have to start out being a dealership doing everything the dealers do. You can start with the basic stuff, PM services, DOT, light mechanical, light electrical. So there are multiple ways to enter the trucking industry. And one thing I will say, a good place to start out, test your market. Check to see how many other roadside or how many other maintenance shops are in that area. Those areas that have very few and far between maintenance shops and roadside services or dead areas or whatever. I wouldn't go exactly in a dead area, but I would go near one, because trucks roll through all areas. So it's not hard to get business. It's a lot of trucks on the road. As we're getting to the end of our webinar here, I'm gonna open it up for the last 5-10 minutes to take questions. But one thing I will leave with you all, again, as you can see, there are multiple ways to enter the trucking industry. You do not have to just buy a truck. You don't have to become a dispatch. You don't have to become a broker. There are multiple other ways. And there are some ways that I can think of that I didn't even talk about. We'll save that for the next webinar. But what I will say, if you're thinking about entering the trucking industry, if you're thinking about going into the logistics industry, get yourself a mentor, educate yourself, and then start or expand your business. Definitely, it's too much information out here. It's too many people out here willing to help. You have people here on the phone willing to help to get started in the industry. So don't try to do it by yourself or do it alone. I had mentors. I still have 4 mentors. I have partners. I educate myself. I still made mistakes. I still cost myself money, but I did not do it alone. I did not try to do it by myself. So again, I'm here. I do offer consulting. I do mentoring. You can go to sjwtrucking.com to our consulting page. We do have a knowledge base at Logistical Mix. Most of you all signed up for the course through logisticalmix.com. Some of you, which we're going to hear from a little later, y'all taking the 5-day challenge as well. So we have another class coming up, which is our freight broker group coaching, where for people that are aspiring to become freight brokers in the industry, I'm going to work with them for 3 months to become freight brokers. We're going to have live classes over those 3 months. We're going to give them access. They're going to make live phone calls, and we're going to have businesses set up coming out of that 3-month course. And one thing SJW will be offering is the opportunity for our top players to become freight broker agents, so they can go ahead and start building their book of business, and we're going to help them with that. Dispatch challenge, again, that 5-day dispatch challenge is coming back September the 12th through the 16th. So we'll have that come posted as it gets closer to time. Like I say, the next class we have is the freight broker group coaching class that we have. And yes, we will have this webinar available afterward. We'll send it out once we close this off. I thank you guys for your time. I wish you all the best of luck. Continue to follow us, join our Facebook page. If you're not on there, we put information in there every day to try to help everyone out. So here again, Tanya's put our links in if you want to contact or reach out to me directly. And I wish you all the best of luck. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
You too.